it feels like there is a major ascension happening in the consciousness of the human species and the whole consciousness of the earth, and we're all waking up to it so that we can heal the earth and heal ourselves and heal many of the other species here. Can you tell us about that?
So you mentioned great upheaval in your life in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
in the recent days.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to draw a parallel to, what you're going through right now and these kind of big changes that many people are talking about. And we want to use your life as an example, but we want to be clear that it is applicable to everyone, in the sense that so all of the talk about ascension or about the big changes coming, whether someone is talking about it in terms of it's the end of the world, or someone is saying, well, it's really just the beginning of a new world, it's all most of the talk is pretty dramatic, right? It's big changes, it's lots of upheaval, it's lots of, and whether it's physical changes in the earth, or whether it's big societal changes in the structures of our society, or whatever the way people describe the impending changes, it's all a little bit scary to people, right? And a part of it is because it's the unknown. Part of it is that we really have no idea what's coming tomorrow. And there's been a period over the last bit of time where many of our physical friends have kind of been lulled into this sense of security. And we don't want to say false sense of security, because you do have every reason to feel secure. However, it's not the real reasons to feel secure are not the reasons that most people feel secure. People feel secure because they have a job, or they feel secure because they have health insurance, or they feel secure because their house is paid off. But these are really meaningless things in terms of true security. There are many ways that your job and your health insurance and your paid off house can dissolve, in a week's time, and then that feeling of security is gone, right? So when that security is dependent on outside circumstances, it really is a false sense of security. But what we are wanting to encourage is to find that true sense of security. And we have already talked about it a little bit in terms of having trust and faith that the universe or source is going to deliver to you what you ask for. And so whether you're approaching, so we'll go back to the analogy of your life having upheaval. If you approach upheaval in your life, whether it is, losing your job or any number of circumstances changing, or something coming to light that makes people uncomfortable, or whatever it is, if you approach the situation with fear and from a place of fear, then it's like it just hurts worse, right? You just end up wallowing in self-pity and doubt and feelings like you did something wrong to cause all of this, and doubting your decisions that you made that led up to this situation and all of that. But when you can go through something that is really yucky and approach it from a place of love and appreciation. So appreciation for going through it, first of all, because of the contrast it provides. appreciation for whatever little parts of it, are the glimmers, the silver linings. And then appreciation for all of the growth that's coming from it. Then you move much more quickly and much more smoothly and gently and easily through, the physical circumstances that many of you would label as bad, right? Most people would label losing your job as bad. But when you can see it for the release that it provides, the freedom that it provides, the place of allowing that it allows you to be in, then you can begin to attract situations that are more in alignment with what you really wanted anyway. If the job that you lose is in perfect alignment with who you are, then you wouldn't have lost it to begin with. So it's the same thing with the kind of, big changes coming up. And we don't want to say that they're coming up because you are already experiencing them. And each of you is experiencing them to different degrees. But there are shifts that are happening. And you're all experiencing them in different ways and to different degrees. And it's the same thing as the job that you're not a match to. You are all living in a place and in a time that you're no longer a match to. You are rising above, vibrating in a place that is of a higher vibration than this physical experience, this place that you call Earth, this country, this societal structure, which is based on fear and control. You are all rising above those constraints. And so that feels uncomfortable, just like getting fired from your job would. But we want you to appreciate the freedom that it's bringing. The more enlightened you become, the more awake you become, the more freedom you have. And so we want you to try as best you can to let go of the fears that you have surrounding any upheaval that's in your life, right in front of you in this moment, and any fears that you might have about larger changes happening on the planet or within societal structures, etc. Because the more you can release that fear, the more you can embrace those changes and move through the changes gently and easily and joyously. Just like you can embrace losing your job and move on to new things more gently and easily and joyously if you approach it from a place of appreciation and letting go the fear.
And I am so grateful for the guidance that is helping me do that. And I'm in a really good place considering everything that's happening. I feel like I'm being guided to help hundreds of thousands of people release their fears so that we can all be free.
Indeed. And so we want to give you this analogy or this parallel of approaching large changes, seemingly cataclysmic changes, with the same approach that we would tell you to use for, losing a job kind of change. It's no different. Now, it might seem bigger, so there might be a little more fear surrounding those kind of big changes. But we want you to know how much you are loved and supported through this process. And the more that each of you can release fear and turn to love, you truly are helping hundreds of thousands of people. navigate through these changes. Just one step that you can make away from fear and toward love has infinite effect. You cannot fathom the effects that it has vibrationally on the planet. And that's why the tipping point has been reached, because more and more and more, just in little pockets, different people were meditating here, or they were studying the course here, or they were, in a group that promoted love rather than fear. And those people, years ago, and it has been, thousands of years in the making, but those seeds were planted, and it grew and it grew, and it grows. It does grow by personal interaction and teaching and talking with others about these ideas, but it grows even faster and stronger and on a bigger level through the vibration. So when you are vibrating in a place of fear, you're putting that out into the universe. You're putting it out to all your brothers and sisters on this planet. And when you're and I will say, I don't want anyone to feel bad for the fear that they put out there, or get stuck in that, because they're stuck in worrying about that, because the vibrations that emanate from you because of fear are so much weaker than the vibrations that emanate you because of love. So, as we just said, each step that you take toward love and toward hope and faith and joy and peace reverberate hugely through others that are near you and others all around your planet.
I usually don't ask about the future,
and we usually don't give very specific answers about the future.
Yeah.
Part of that is because the future is continually being shaped by thoughts and actions of the present moment. So,
planet Earth is home for us. Feels, I just don't know. I feel like a lot of us are going to become space travelers.
And that is possible. There are infinite possibilities. But we want you to know that through this process of turning toward love and letting go of fear, you can mitigate the changes that seem insurmountable, especially these environmental damage that many of you see can be mitigated through vibration, can be mitigated through this letting go of fear and moving toward love. So when you look at helping the environment from a place of fear, that makes much less progress than when you look at helping the environment from a place of love and hope and faith. It is also true that the awakening and the raising of the vibration in many of our human friends can also mitigate earthquakes and other large events. We do not call them disasters because it is simply an expression. It is one physical expression of energy. And we know that there are casualties in terms of physical bodies that result from these large natural events. And we do not want to discount or seem irreverent toward those casualties. But when you understand that you are not a body, and that none of those humans or animals that make their transition as a result of any event, really, whether it is a large natural disaster or whether it is a small act of violence. None of those, well, all of those people, first of all, were ready to leave. And whether they were aware that they were ready to leave or not is different in every case. Sometimes it was just time for them to go so that they could continue on their process and maybe be reborn and continue on their journey like that. Sometimes it's because they were ready to go, because they were ready to ascend. There are many different reasons. And we know that it is a time of sadness for those of you in physical bodies when there is when there are many casualties from large events or even the small events. But we hope that you can understand that because you are not a body and because they were not bodies, that none of them died. And in many cases, they were freed. They were able to release those lower vibrations of pain and fear and move into a place of vibrating so high that it just helps all of us that remain here. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this has to do with the labels that our physical friends put on things that happen. The label that you put on death, on physical death. The way that you judge events that happen. And when you can get to a place of finding some sort of appreciation for all of these things that you previously labeled as negative, then you are at a place of truly ascending, truly rising above all of this lower vibration, fear, and pain.
Thank you so much for the truth and for being with us and sharing and revering the moment with us.
Indeed. We very much appreciate all of your time and attention that you give to these interactions. We appreciate your questions that call forth our perspective. And we appreciate most of all your willingness to do the work that you have to do in your daily lives, to turn toward love and make that choice again and again and again, and release those old habits of turning toward fear. We know that it is you are undoing a lifetime, many lifetimes of habit, of staying stuck in that fearful, painful place. And so we know that it is not easy. It is not just snap your fingers and it's done. We know that it could be that quick and easy, but we know that because of the physical constraints of your reality, that it generally is not that easy. And so we appreciate the effort and the consciousness that you bring to turning toward love again and again and again, and making that choice consciously and in faith. So thank you for all of your efforts. Namaste.
Namaste.